Hello and welcome to Oh What a Marvel. It's a podcast on the Merc with the Blog podcast feed. Well, it's on their YouTube channel, but then I download the MP3 and I send it to Josh and he puts it on the podcast feed. Believe it or not, I'm doing a better job introing this show right now than I did last week. It was really bad last week.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it was really bad. But this is a podcast. We talk about the Marvel Studios Disney Plus TV shows. We are covering the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I am Sean. I'm hosting Falcon and Winter Soldier. And normally I'd have a large group of people with me to talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but only one of them showed up to work today. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, it's just me.
It's just Sarah.
It's just Sarah.
Sadly, Dean and Tyler were unable to watch the episode before we could do this, so they obviously can't talk about the episode if they haven't seen it.
Slacker.
I know. Well, we'll be talking about that with them. Well, there's gonna be a conversation had. I promise you that.
Oh my gosh.
Sarah, you were absent last week, so
Yes.
Speaking of slackers, you were not around last week, so we have not yet heard your thoughts on the first episode of the series. So do you wanna talk about the first episode just a little bit?
Yeah. I watched the first one last night. And then
sorry,
I watched
who's the slacker
this
again?
one.
What was that? Sorry, you said somebody's a slacker?
Excuse me?
Sorry.
Not me. Well, so they kind of run together, I'm going to be honest. I don't know what happened in each episode, but I really like this show so far. I really like the first episode. I definitely have some issues with things, but I think I was not looking forward to this one as much as I really liked WandaVision. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is going to be typical Marvel, which is fine, but coming off of like the weirdness and towards the end, the normal. But you know what I mean?
Very weirdness of WandaVision. Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is just going to be the typical. And it kind of started out that way with the opening, which was awesome. The action scene with the planes and Falcon and all that stuff was really cool. And I was like, okay. And then once it started to really get into the meat of the episode with the whole therapy session with Bucky and finding out with more about Sam and more about Bucky, and then the end with the new Captain America, I was like, okay, I'm hooked. Like, this is good. Yeah. I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. I'm excited. I like where the story is going. And yeah.
I pretty much completely agree with everything that you just said. That's pretty much how I felt last week was, it was, I thought I expected one thing from this show, and then we got like 3 action sequences last week or something like that, 2 or 3, and a lot of character. And I was not expecting that. And this week I was like, all right, we're pushing it up. We're going to get even more. There's like one fight scene in this episode, but I didn't care. I think this episode was better than the first one.
I agree.
I thought this episode was incredible. As a fan of the MCU, as a comics fan, there's a lot we're going to talk about. I never expected we would get so deep into the lore of Captain America, because there's a lot of just, we're throwing little characters, we're throwing references to things. There's a lot of Captain America comic stuff getting thrown around. But I don't think I realized how weird WandaVision was until I watched these 2 episodes.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, I went back and I saw a clip from WandaVision today, and I was like, oh yeah, that was fucking weird. That was a weird show, wasn't it?
Yeah. We're in completely different genres? Oh, okay, this is weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's, that show came out at a point where we hadn't had the MCU for so long, so, like, it kind of defined what the MCU was for that period. So now that we go,
we're back.
This is the MCU. Falcon and Winter Soldier is the MCU. That stuff was weird. It was a fantastic weird thing. But anyways.
Yeah. But this is still pretty stylized, though. More than I expected it to be. Like, especially during the last episode, during the whole therapy thing, where he's kind of retelling what kind of happened, and he's like, what was rule number 2? Like, it's kind of, like, the cuts it kind of reminds me of, like, Guy Ritchie a little bit, where it's, like, super close up, and then cut back and forth, like, quick cuts and stuff like that, which I really like. It kind of feels a little out of place sometimes, because they don't do it the whole episode. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I think with with Sam and his sister, like that kind of stuff, it was these longer backed up shots. And then anything with like Bucky and the therapist or anything with him, it's like these quick, snappy, sometimes like the tone just feels all over the place to me. Like, I don't know if anyone else.
I can see that. We definitely had some conversations about the really close-ups that we had last episode, because there was a few of those with Bucky. But this episode, titled "The Star-Spangled Man," by the way, love that name, because that's the whole thing in First Avenger. Where he's like, he's the Star-Spangled Man,
That's right.
Which that song,
I love the First Avenger. Sorry,
I love the First Avenger as well.
I think that's one of the best Marvel movies. I
completely agree. Yeah,
same page.
But that song plays in this episode, but they like redid it. That's what the marching band is playing.
Is that what the marching band? I love that scene. Oh, I thought it was
great.
It's so great. I was like, okay, we getting the black marching band up in here with the dancing. It's like, it's so good. Oh my gosh, I loved it. I was like, okay.
What is it?
Got a little soul going on.
Every dollar is a bullet in the barrel of your best man's gun. Like whatever that bit. From First Avenger. I don't know. I love that bit of First Avenger. Yeah. So hearing the music play again, I was like,
I didn't even realize that. That's awesome.
But directed by Carrie Skogland, who directed last episode. I don't think she directed every episode. But also Wikipedia says that she. Aren't we getting fancy?
Why was
I don't know.
WandaVision directed by a man, and this is directed by? I mean, like, okay.
But WandaVision was written by a woman, directed by a man. This show is directed by a woman, written by a man. We're we're getting the best of both worlds. We're Hannah Montana-ing it up.
Oh my god.
We'll never give both jobs to a woman, but she can do one of them. I guess.
We're like 10 years away from that.
Yeah.
It's either or.
DC's got that down.
Direct. Yeah.
Yeah. DC's got that down with Patty Jenkins, but Marvel, we're not ready for that yet.
We're not ready. That's too far.
Too far. Written by Michael Castelline, I think is how you say his name. Different writer than last time. Still a dude. Okay. Don't worry, still a guy writing it, but it's a different guy.
Thank God.
And I wanna jump right into this episode with damn it, I don't like how they're making me feel about John Walker. About the new Captain America. I'm conflicted about him. Because sometimes I like him. Sometimes I like him, and sometimes he's like your Captain America's sidekick. And I was like, "Ooh, dude, you don't want to say that to Falcon. You don't want to call him Captain America's sidekick." Because I think we opened this episode with him in the locker room, struggling with the weight of what it means to be Captain America. And I'm like, don't make me like this guy.
Yeah, I was like, I was caught off guard by that. I was like, we're supposed to like him? Okay. Because I thought they were going to set it up like, we hate this guy. Which, I mean, towards the end, I think that's kind of where they're going. But yeah, giving him like a wife or girlfriend, I don't know. And the whole locker room thing and something like his background, talking about how like he's kind of he's a hero, so you can see the similarities, why they picked him and Steve. I was like, okay, I actually really like this guy. Like, I really like what they're doing, which I was caught off guard. I didn't think that was going to happen.
U.S. Agent is what he's called in the comics. Who knows if they'll do that in the shows, but we'll see. I could see them. I'm really curious as to who the antagonist of this show is, because I don't know who it's going to be.
You don't think it's what they're setting up?
With the Flag Smashers?
The hand people? What are they called?
No, I don't think it can be the Flag Smashers, because
I don't think that's going to be another like. It's the same girl from Solo, right? Do you think it's going to be another?
It is the same. I think it's 100% that. I think it's 100%.
I was like, are you kidding me? We're going to do this again?
Well, because if you're Disney, you can't put out a show where the villains are people that are like, we want one world where everybody helps each other. Like that's That can't be your villain.
We want peace among nations. It's like,
yeah,
no.
no, thank you. But what about?
No, thank you.
What about nations? What about our country?
Yeah.
All right. Fuck Canada.
So
all right.
It's true. I didn't think of that. Like, yeah, they're probably not. That's interesting. Oh man, then I don't know.
We have some other stuff going on, but I do want to. I do want to stick on John Walker just a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
Because the opening very, very endeared to him. I was surprised right away. They establish him. Hey, he's capable. Like, you see the video of him practicing with the shield, and then later on when he fights, we see him use the shield, and it's like he can use that shield.
So he's not like, they didn't give him the serum or anything, right? Okay, that's why I was kind of confused. Like,
he says he doesn't.
Does he have special abilities, or is it just that he's really good with the boomerang? Like, I don't like. That's why I was like, where? Because he jumped really far on the train or bus or truck or whatever it was. Yeah, so that's why I'm like, is he just a good guy, or does he have something special going on? Like,
I feel like he's doing a little bit more than you would expect, but I also could see them. I could see them doing this as a way to get you ready for when Sam does it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if you're like, oh, if John Walker can do it, then Sam could do some bad. Because he does do. Well, he kicks some ass. He does some basic ass kicking. You know.
That's true. Yeah. Sam's just normal.
Sam.
Too, right? He doesn't have any.
Yeah.
Special. I don't know. All these people get confused. Special abilities.
No, all he's got are a pair of wings.
What about the guy, his partner? I forget what he said his name was. Sam.
I
was like, this is literally just
Sam.
His Sam.
Funnily enough, he's actually gone by Bucky in the comics. This character.
Really?
Battlestar. Yeah, because there's been a bunch of Bucky's in the comics. Bucky, it's weird. In the comics, Bucky has kind of just been the name for Cap's sidekick. Like, there has been more than James Bucky Barnes. It has been, by one point, this guy, I gotta look, I wrote his name down. His name is Lamar Hoskins. He was Bucky at one point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that kind of like a Robin title where, like, multiple people were Robin?
I guess.
Like Bucky, like...
I feel like that was before my time reading comics, because they definitely don't do that anymore, I don't think.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I just watching that opening, they really hit you with it too, because it's before the Marvel Studios. Like, you get thrown right into it with just, here's John Walker. I hope you kind of like him a little bit.
I was surprised.
Yeah. The suit is growing on me a little bit. I didn't like it at first. But throughout the episode, kind of seeing it on, I'm like, I kind of dig that suit. I think it kind of looks cool.
Yeah.
And then John Walker going, you know, it feels like Steve was like a brother. And then it just cuts to Bucky sitting on the floor of his apartment. And I was like,
yeah.
So I'm glad I'm not the only one that's getting, like, endeared to him a little bit. And I'm unsure of where I stand on him.
Yeah, by the end, I'm like, I don't know about you, but I was definitely like, definitely endeared to him and his whole story, and interesting. Then the more he talks, I'm like, you're a little cocky, but it's okay.
Like, his actions, what he does sometimes, I'm like, I'm down with him. You know, like when they're in Germany and he's like trying to give them a ride back to base. And he's like, he's really reaching out to them. And I'm like, I kind of dig what you're doing. And then he opens his mouth and you're like, dude, shut up.
Like,
stop talking. Which, hey, that might be the arc. His arc might be he learns to not be a cocky son of a bitch.
Yeah. It seems it was more, because in that one scene in the opening where he's like talking about being Captain America, it just, to me, kind of came off more like the title, and not so much where, like, he mentioned Steve once, and where I was like, okay, it's just a thing where it's like, oh, Captain America is just a title, where to us and to Sam and Bucky, it's so much more than that. Like, Steve Rogers was Captain America. And I think that's yeah, and I think it was more. I feel like his interactions with them is more just like, oh, I'm a superhero now because I'm Captain America and you're superheroes, so we're just like going to be buddies. And it's like, no, it's more than that. Like they were friends with him, and it's more than just like wearing this suit and now being an Avenger, which you're not. Like
he really wanted to put together his own little Avengers team.
Yeah, it was just
really
kind of
trying
like
hard.
more like it was just a title than like the importance of it, which
yeah.
I think plays on. I think that's their intention of it, where it's like, okay, now this random guy is wearing the suit because the government has decided. Like, I like how Bucky was all mad at Sam, like, you didn't think this was gonna happen?
Yeah.
And that's what I said. I was like, yeah, you can't be mad. Like, of course.
But I did like Sam saying, you know, you don't think it broke my heart to see that happen? Like, and again, I think that was one of the strongest. I think the two strongest scenes so far from the show, one has been a Sam moment, one has been a Bucky moment. The Sam moment was Sam watching at the end of last episode as the new Captain America came out. I think Anthony Mackie destroyed that scene. And this episode, when Bucky says, if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me. I was like, okay, Sebastian Stan. Calm down, please, sir.
Sebastian Stan.
This is illegal. And he's like crying a little bit in that scene. I was like, Bucky doesn't break like this normally.
He's great. He's my favorite part. Yeah. Like
he's great.
He's killing it. Like
I think they both are.
They both are, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I got a soft spot for Bucky. I won't lie. I love Bucky.
Yeah, me too. We love Bucky. I think we know. I mean, now we're starting to know more about Sam, and I really like his backstory and the sister and all that stuff. But I think we have known Bucky and seen him through everything longer than Sam. So I think that's why everyone's just really connected to him and his emotionalness. And
I think it's also that, like, I feel like a lot of people probably get drawn to Bucky because he's so alone.
Yeah.
Like Sam has his family. Sam has Rhodey. He knows Black Widow. He knows the other Avengers. He's a part of that crew. He ran with them, you know?
Yeah.
Bucky had Cap.
Yeah.
And now he doesn't have that anymore. And, you know, it's strange to bring up. I feel like there's a part this isn't possible anymore, but there could have been an interesting relationship between him and T'Challa after he spent time in Wakanda. Which obviously they can't do that anymore, sadly. You know, rip Chadwick Boseman. But they reference that was something I got really excited about when he referenced his time in Wakanda, and he called himself the White Wolf, which we haven't heard in a while. And I like that.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Which it's funny because it's jokey because Sam is like, he's the White Panther or you're the White Panther, but like White Wolf, Bucky went by White Wolf in the comics for a little bit. So
did he? I didn't know.
Yeah, so
I was like, oh, that's cheeky.
Yeah, so it works on two levels of like being a funny joke, but also being like in Infinity War when T'Challa goes and gives him the new arm, he's like, the White Wolf has rested long enough, and so it's just I'm curious because at some point you got to stop going by the Winter Soldier, you know? You can't really be that guy anymore.
Yeah, you got to let that part die. You got to let the past die.
Kill it if you have to.
Kill it if you have to. Man, what's that from? No, I was kidding.
I don't know. But yeah, that whole Germany sequence I thought was great. I thought it was like we start off
just quipping. I was like,
them quipping.
What is happening?
I love Bucky kind of trying to be Steve a little bit in that he's like, I don't need a parachute. I'm just going to jump. And he stands there and he looks out for a second. And you're like, Steve would have just jumped. Steve would not have hesitated. But Bucky's looking. He's like, do I want to jump?
Yeah.
And then when he jumps, he doesn't land like on a knee. Like he doesn't do a superhero landing like Steve would have done. He smacks into the ground.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, what do you mean you don't need a parachute? What are you talking about?
I mean, he doesn't really need one. He's the Winter Soldier. He is a superhero. Like he has the super soldier serum.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I was thinking like maybe it's just his arm. I'm like, what's he gonna do? Just like land on his arm and
lands
like
on his arm.
Hope for the best. That's
I mean,
true.
the arm is made out of vibranium now, so it would do the same thing that the shield does in absorbing like the impact.
Yeah. That's what I thought. But
I just have all my notes I'm looking at. Sam made me sad when he said we're not assassins, and then Bucky was like, "Okay, you didn't have to low blow, dude."
Rude.
But yeah, I liked that whole back and forth. And then obviously talking about the truck sequence, because first of all, I started out. One of my favorite things in these movies. This is gonna sound so weird. One of my favorite things in these movies is watching these people run. So, okay. There's the scene it's happened twice in Civil War when Bucky, Cap, and Black Panther are running through the underground.
Oh my God.
And they're running faster than cars. You just see them. Boom,
that scene is incredible. When they're like,
and then, yes. And then in Wakanda in Infinity War, when they charge and they're all running together, and then you see Black Panther and Cap just slowly break away from the rest of the pack and just go sprint. I love seeing the super soldiers run.
That's true.
And we got a little bit of that in this episode where Falcon takes off and you just see Bucky running alongside the truck. And I was like, yeah, go, Bucky, go.
Wild.
Something a little topical about them stealing vaccines. Did you have that reaction too?
Yeah, they said vaccines. I was like, what? How dare they? Yeah, their motivation confuses me a little bit, but I guess I understand. They want to go back to when the 5 years, right? Isn't that the whole thing?
Yeah. It seems that they liked it. They felt that when we lost so much all at once, people like I don't think that their thing is they literally want half of the universe to be gone, but I think it's that the effect
the rules
of
and stuff.
Yeah, and also the sense of like when half of the world disappears, it doesn't matter where you're from anymore. You have to pull together to survive.
Yeah,
and that sense of unity is something that they thought was better then, and that they want to return to.
Okay.
And so like their whole thing in this episode is really they're stealing medicine for sick people. Like, how can they're stealing vaccines?
Yeah, so are they really the villains? Like, how are they going to expect us to be like, these assholes just stealing medicine? Yeah. I think one of them calls him Robin Hood or something, right?
Yes.
They're calling you Robin Hood.
They go to this person who's like, hey, I have like a safe house for you that I put because I'm a big fan of yours. And he's like, they call you Robin Hood online. And they talk about how their plan was they were going to take this medicine to a refugee camp.
Mm.
So like, I don't know if those are our bad guys. I feel like and it's hard, like, because they're not people that you would dislike either. I don't think, like, when they're with each other, like that one guy is like, I will sacrifice myself to get this medicine to sick people. And then she like hugs him and I'm like, I don't want this guy to die.
Oh my gosh. That's true. Maybe the villain's going to be like the government, which is very topical. Like,
the fucking government is fuck those guys for giving the shield to John Walker. I'm that upset.
That's been the villain this whole series is the government. Just like all their rules, all the regulations.
Definitely pisses me the hell off.
Yeah.
And we do know that the Sokovia Accords are still in effect because they're referenced in WandaVision. Hayward says that's how he can keep the Vision body. So the Sokovia Accords are still in effect. And I do think that's one of the like kind of conflicts between Sam and Bucky and John Walker is like John doesn't, I refuse to call him Captain America. John, I think they tested him at the end of the episode when they're like, look, we can operate outside the law. You have to go through all this paper, yada, yada, yada. Like you have to get permission first. And then I think the test was Captain America would say, fuck those regulations. Yeah. I'm going to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
You know? and he failed it. He failed the test because he is a soldier first, you know? But
that's true.
Speaking of Cap or fake Cap, they did a great job hiding. Cap is in that truck fight because that wasn't in any of the trail. Like we saw the truck fight in the trailers a couple times. We saw most of that fight in the trailer. Pretty much any shot that doesn't have Cap in it, we saw in the trailer. So
really,
like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like in the trailer, I remember seeing this truck fight and being like, okay, Sam and Bucky are going to fight some people on top of a truck. All right, this is cool. And then I'm watching, I'm like, okay, we knew about this. And then the shield comes in. I go, what? John? And then that's when we get introduced to Battlestar.
Battlestar.
I love that that's Bucky's breaking point where he's sitting there and he's like, who are you? I'm Battlestar. Stop the car.
Yeah. I was like, that's such a dumb name.
It is a dumb name. Actual character in the comic books.
Really?
Yeah. He was, it's all, he went by Battlestar at one point. He's gone by a bunch. Like I said, when I said that they were digging deep into the lore of Captain America, they really are.
They're digging deep.
Like, I did not expect to see Battlestar in this show. And he pulled up. Yeah, we kind of talked about how he's, yeah. Oh, the Global Repatriation Council, who they kind of talk about. These are the guys that when people came back, they reformed to restore borders, essentially. Because from what I took of it as like when everything went to shit, people stopped kind of caring about where you lived. It wasn't like, are you a citizen of this country? Get out. Like, it was just fucking, there's an empty house. Take it. So it seems like these guys, when everybody came back, were like, okay, who has citizenship where? You got to go back to your country. You got to go back to your country. You got to get out of that house. That belongs to somebody. Like, these are the guys that had to set the world straight again. That's kind of what I get. And I love like, I'm so happy that we get these shows because we get so much juicy, like, repercussions of the snap.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it. I love that they're diving into, like, the real world part of it. Like, what would the world do if people disappeared for years and all of a sudden they're all back and we've moved on? And it's like, I think last episode when they were like, when Sam was trying to get the loan or whatever, and he's like, you don't have any credit or for the past 5 years or any record. And he's like, well, I was gone. And it's like, you don't think about that kind of stuff. Like, no. Yeah, the world moves on. And I think someone said it in this episode, like, all those people disappeared for 5 years and now all the attention has gone to them and they've just forgot about everyone else that's been left here. And, like, how is that fair? Which I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah. Hey. And, you know, it's great, especially coming off, because I feel like the sense after Home or Far From Home was, okay, the movies don't have time for this. We're not going to dwell. The snap happened. We're moving on. Because,
Not the snap. Just kidding.
The snap, yeah. So in Far From Home, in Far From Home, they play it off as a joke.
Yeah.
At the very beginning of the movie, they're like, snap happened. We're moving on. We don't have the time to address that.
Yeah.
You know, in a 2.5-hour movie, 2-hour movie. So I like that in these shows. I mean, WandaVision, we deal with that a little bit, not to the extent that we're dealing with it in this show, but we're dealing with this show. We know that Hawkeye is going to flash back to during the snap, during the 5 years, because we're going to see him as Ronin. Really? That's what they've said. They've said that we're going to see more of his time as Ronin when he was like going samurai mode. So hopefully that still happens. Is
he going to own the apartment building? Isn't that a comic where he owns an apartment?
I'm not sure, but I do know that, I mean, they are doing the modern day stuff is the Kate Bishop stuff where he's training a new Hawkeye. But anyways, very excited. But I do like that these shows are like, hey, we can spend this time delving into this stuff. I think these shows, massive success, right? Already, I think. I hope they continue forever.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Give us more.
So the second half of this year might be nuts. Because if we get shows at the same rate that we got if we get 3 shows at the end of this year, right? Like we did 3 shows at the beginning of this year. If we can get 3 shows at the end of this year, and
that'd be 6
on top of that
shows.
Well, on top of that, from July to December, there's 4 movies coming out.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah,
that's wild. Woo.
Yeah, but by the time the Germany sequence was over, I was like, man, this has been a great episode. I'm sure, like, man, what an awesome. And then I clicked on like my thing to see how much time it was. It's not even halfway done.
No. Yeah, definitely a big change from WandaVision where it's like, oh, 22 minutes and 7 minutes of credits. Okay. And here it's like 49 minutes. Like, so much. So much we're trying to go through. But
at this point, the story splits off into kind of the Flag Smashers and the hero side. So I want to hit the rest of the Flag Smashers stuff. By the way, we don't have to go to break because there are no ads to play.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I just Dean asked me last week. He was like, do we have to go to break? And I was like, there's no ads to play, so no. The Flag Smashers. We saw a couple more scenes with them. So her name is Carly, apparently. I think that's how they said it, right?
It's Enfys Nest. That's
Enfys
what I'll...
Nest. It's Enfys Nest, yes.
At first I was like, is that her? Because she's like in the shadows, and I was like, is that her? And I was like, oh my god. They're doing this whole thing all over again.
You know what?
She was great.
Which is funny.
I loved her.
Yeah, it's funny. That is, whenever they're talking about Disney Plus Star Wars shows, I'm like, give me Enfys Nest. Because that's the part of that movie that I felt like we got the least of, and
You're getting it right now.
I'm getting it right now. It's the
modern day.
In the MCU.
In the MCU. Yeah.
But she gets that text, you took what was mine, I will find you and kill you. And then they say that the power brokers men are the people that show up at the end of the episode and kill that one guy. Power broker, I'm not very familiar with another Captain America villain.
Oh, okay.
From the comics, yeah. So
our villain?
I probably
in the shadows. Is it Mephisto?
It's Mephisto. The power broker is Mephisto
again.
And I assume Zemo's also probably a villain, right?
I don't know. The way they set it up,
he's gonna be.
The way they set
he's gonna
it
turn
up,
on him.
Yeah. I feel like that's too obvious though. But again, that's how we felt with Wanda, and it ended up being the obvious stuff in the end anyway. So maybe.
Yeah,
but
that's
I mean, Zemo, we can talk about that later. But I don't think there. Yeah. That's
no. Go ahead.
No, I was confused by who she got that text from, but now that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I think I might have checked out. I checked out a little bit, not going to lie, this episode because I was doing my makeup too, getting ready for work. So I think I missed the part where they said that I heard the vaccines, but I think I missed the part where they said they were going to distribute it to the refugees. So that makes more sense because I was like, who texted her? Like, did new Captain America text her? Like, I was like, that's a little dark, but now that makes a lot more sense. Like,
I don't think they ever explicitly state
that
it was them, but it
was someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, it was somebody else, and then the Power Brokers men do show up at the end and kill a dude. So I think it's probably pretty safe to assume it was from him.
A new villain. Yeah. That's interesting.
But that's really all we got for the Flag Smashers. I want to cut back to the. Now we'll go over all the stuff that happened with the rest of the hero side of stuff because oh my gosh, I watched the first half of this episode. I'm like, this was great. This was a great episode of this show. I'm so happy. And then they were like, you want more? You want a lot more? Would you like all the comic book references you could ever want and more? And I was like, yes, please. And they were like, here, take them. So just a couple notes I had written down. when Bucky's like, "Hey, let's just jump his ass and take the shield," I was like, "Yeah, let's fucking get him."
Oh they do have amazing chemistry, though. Like,
they have great chemistry.
I don't mean that in like, I know people are like, "Ooh, romantic way." I mean, like, just the way. I mean, they always had the way they bounce off each other. It's so natural. Like, you just believe that they're just bros that hate each other, but also, I don't believe that they hate each other though, because I always feel like everything they say to each other has such sarcasm underneath it. Like, because these actors are like friends, so for me it just comes off like they're just having fun, like quipping with each other. But you know what I mean?
No, yeah.
It's still
I mean, they get put together in like every interview, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like,
this is just their friendship.
I do think that they've done a really good job convincing me that these guys don't really like each other that much. Like, I do feel it. I think for me it's working. I
see that Sam doesn't like. But yeah, maybe I do believe it, because they really are just like that. The therapy scene where Sam's just going off and is like, "I don't care, I'm done," and just
part of me was a little bit like, "Fuck you, Sam."
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, an asshole." He's opening up to you, talking about how like he feels like that, like he doesn't believe in himself and everything Cap said was a lie, and Sam's just like, "Well, fuck you." It's just like, whatever.
Like,
I was like, damn.
Bucky's arc in the show so far is so great because he's so lonely.
Yeah.
He's so lonely. And that's something they talked about in episode 1. And then the end of this episode, Sam says, once we're done, we never talk to each other again. It's like, that's not going to help. His whole problem is he doesn't have friends. You know?
Why does Sam hate Bucky? Because he's like killed people?
Bucky's
is that why?
Asshole.
Maybe I just like the bad boys.
Bucky's a bit of a douche. I mean, he's broody. I don't think Sam hates him as much as
I just like a broody.
He lets on. But I do think that I think he's getting frustrated with him. I think he's kind of like, look, man, it was amusing at first, but
you killed some people. Get over it. You were brainwashed. Get over it.
Come on, man. Just get over it.
I always thought it was just jealousy, because like they both are like best friends with Cap. So I always thought it was like, no, he's my best friend. Like,
I do think it started as that.
Yeah,
but now that doesn't matter because he's gone.
That's what I thought Bucky was kind of going to bring up. Like, he gave you this. Well, he did. Yeah, I thought he was going to go more into why he doesn't like Sam is because like I was his best friend first and then I died and you kind of replaced me. Like, I thought that's kind of where we were going to go, and it wasn't, which is fine. I liked where we ended up, but I just always assumed that like there's still that resentment of like you kind of come in and I was a mess and I was killing people and you hate me, and but it was
Everybody
so much deeper than that.
I do think that it's weird because I feel like we've gotten so much already. Because I mean, we essentially have gotten like almost a full movie already. But
for real,
about 2 hours into a 6-hour show.
Yeah.
There's still so much that's gonna happen. And that's so wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Do you think, real quick, where they're ending the episodes, just like, to me it feels very natural. Like, I was kind of afraid, like, because WandaVision kind of has a structure, like, kind of had the structure where they were able to, like, oh, this makes sense. And I'm like, this feels more like it's going to be like a 6-hour movie. Like, how do you just break up and, like, end on an episode? But I feel like there is, like, how they are ending makes sense. Like, it feels like this is the end of scene 1. Now we're going to move on to dealing with scene 2. Yeah, I was just curious.
I think they've done a great job setting up the endings for each episode so far.
Yeah, I think so. It feels like a movie, but at the same time, it still feels like a TV show. You know what I mean? Which I like.
I will say, you know, the CG on that truck fight was, at some points, a little questionable.
I watched it on my phone, so I don't know.
Okay. I watched it. I watched it on a TV.
I watch everything on my phone.
Okay, but I was very impressed last episode. I thought the opening sequence, the flight sequence, was like straight out of something from a movie. I did think I felt a little bit more of the CG. Yeah. I felt like I felt a little more of the CG in the fight this episode, but I don't know. Maybe I just was imagining it. I did write down that scene that Anthony Mackie has with those kids where they're like, "You're the Black Falcon." And he's like, "I'm the Falcon." I just think he has chemistry with everybody. He's so fun.
That scene was funny. I was like, oh. And then
we get introduced to a character that I never thought we would ever meet in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Isaiah Bradley. Isaiah Bradley, Bucky takes Sam to him. He was so Isaiah Bradley was part of I think it's a 6-issue miniseries in like 2003. Okay. Really? And in the comics, they go in this miniseries, they talk about how he was part of a World War II super soldier serum experiment where they used 300 African American men as test subjects to try and replicate the super soldier serum, to try and replicate what they did with Steve Rogers.
That's so interesting.
It was a very controversial comic to the point it has not been republished physically since Disney bought Marvel in 2009. So yeah, you weren't expecting him to show up. I think this fucker's never showing up.
That's not canon. Like, that's not real.
That's never. But he shows. Crazy. But it also goes in because we kind of teased in Civil War a little bit that like people were trying to do the super soldier thing after Steve was gone. I mean, that's something that happened forever in the comics, forever. And I think we're gonna get. I think that's what this show is probably is. We're gonna find out that there's more super soldier serums going around,
which I was not expecting. That's what this show would cover at all, and
I wasn't either.
I like it. I like that the plot is like a little bit more like super soldiers, and there's more out there. I was not expecting that. I was like, oh, this is cool. Because of course, like why wouldn't you keep going? Yeah, it makes sense.
And it fleshes out the world so much. I feel like it makes the history of the world feel so much bigger. Where it's like, people have been trying to make super soldiers this entire time in the background.
Yeah.
But so he becomes Captain America in this like six issue comic book arc, and he in the show, obviously when we meet him, he fought in the Korean War as Captain, as a like super soldier Captain America type thing, and Bucky fought him. But the interesting part for me is that Isaiah Bradley in the comics is the grandfather of one Eli Bradley, and Eli Bradley is the Patriot who is one of the core members of the Young Avengers.
Do you think that kid that opened up the door, because that's what I saw on TikTok said?
I think so. Yes. I'm not sure if
getting our Young Avengers. Is that a thing? Like, has that been announced that they're doing a Young Avengers?
Not yet, but I mean, we got Wiccan and Speed in WandaVision. We just met I assume, Eli Bradley. Now, if that is the guy who's going to play Eli Bradley, I don't know. That might just be a stand-in actor, and then they'll recast when they actually want to use it. Or maybe he'll show up later in the show.
Like they did with Ant-Man's daughter, how they recasted.
Yes. She's a member of the Young Avengers. We've met her already. I mean, we're
getting everyone.
We've met an entire team already. They're doing it. Which Young Avengers, especially Young Avengers, ties into Kang in a really big way, and Kang is getting introduced as a villain in the Ant-Man sequel,
3, right? Yeah.
Yes. So I love the Young Avengers personally, so I'm really excited for that to become a thing. And so when it was like Isaiah Bradley, oh, there's a kid opening the door. Oh, that's probably the fucking Patriot. I was very happy. I was, like I said, this episode, I was like watching it and I was like, fucking Battlestar? We're referencing the Power Broker. I don't know anything about the Power Broker except for that he's a Captain America villain. Wait, Isaiah Bradley? Is that Eli? Like, I was just watching.
This is all one episode?
I'm like, I'm like, there's still 20 minutes left. I'm like,
what more is there for us to like? What more is gonna come?
They like at this point, I'm fucking waiting for Chris Evans to show up. I'm like,
probably.
Who knows, man. But yeah, that was the biggest geek out moment for me, was seeing Isaiah Bradley, seeing who is presumably Eli Bradley, getting more confirmation that I'm not fucking crazy. Because I was saying when they announced the slate of shows, I was like, in these shows, there is an opportunity in each of them to introduce a member of the Young Avengers, and so far they're doing it. So hey, I'm a prophet, is what I'm saying. Worship me. But yeah. We get that scene with the cops, which was poignant.
Yeah, I would say a little on the nose.
Very real, especially set in Baltimore. I live near Baltimore. That was pretty real.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, you're Falcon." It was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. And then
that keeps happening. Poor Falcon.
That keeps happening. That's like a real thing. You see those videos online of African American men getting if they'll get pulled over, and if it's like African American cops getting pulled over, and then when the person finds out that they're a cop, they're like, "Oh fuck,
yeah,
oh shit, oh no."
Let's
rewind the whole conversation.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, this is real." I like how they're working in real life stuff. Like the vaccines.
Yeah, I don't think they intended that to play as well as it did.
No, but real life issues and
I think it's impossible to avoid with the plot of what the show is.
Yeah, that's where I thought the show was going to focus a lot more heavily on the fact that Sam being African American and taking over Captain America and that kind of struggle, which I think we are going to get to that. I think that is probably the end goal of. Yeah. And I think it permeates the whole show a little bit. You kind of everywhere you turn, you see the effects of it, whether it's him
what happens at the bank or whether it's here. Thanks for giving us the shield. Now, white man, would you like a Captain America? That kind of stuff. So
yeah. It's very it's cool. It's cool to kind of see this interesting perspective, and then also staying away from it.
I'm glad they're not really pulling their punches on it. They aren't. They aren't trying to be like, this might upset some people, so let's not do it. You know.
Yeah. And then Bucky gets arrested.
Yeah, Bucky gets arrested. Bucky.
What? What's happening?
It makes sense though. That's the kind of stuff where and this was something I pointed out in the first episode that I really enjoyed, where they're like, hey, if they go into that other country's airspace, we can't do jack shit. Yeah.
He's like, you just gotta make it to the border.
Yeah. Which can't catch us. That's a real thing. Iron Man would not have fucking cared. Iron Man would have flown in there and he would, and even now we're like, hey, you missed your therapy appointment.
Yeah.
In real life.
I don't care if you're Bucky, if you're the Winter Soldier. In real life, if you don't do your court-appointed shit, they will pick your ass up. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that level of realism of I don't know. I think that I feel like this show is really thinking about it, and I really like that. Mm-hmm. I think it's smart in a different way than WandaVision was smart. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it still is doing that Marvel thing of being a little bit too quippy sometimes.
Yeah.
I think in the therapy scene where they're just going back and forth, I'm like, okay, this is going on a little bit too long and it's a little bit too quippy for my taste. But I think some of the writing's really, there's some lines though, I don't know if it's the way they're delivered or just the line itself. Sometimes I'm just like, that is cheesy. This is
it is a little cheesy. It is a little
corny.
Cheesy.
But I mean, that's superhero stuff. What do you expect?
And I feel like that's particularly the Captain America sphere of superhero stuff. I mean, we're talking about every dollar's a bullet in the barrel of your best man's gun. That, I can do this all day.
I love that scene though. It's so good.
I love them. Captain America's a cheesy dude. The safest hands are still our own. he's kind of a cheesy guy. So I think that
all that propaganda stuff and
well, yeah, because it's a dude that dresses up in red, white, and blue with a giant fucking star on his chest. It's silly, you know. So I think it works. I will say, when I saw that trailer, I was like, oh man, that therapy session gonna be so fun.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to hurt so much, not gonna lie.
Yeah. That was a scene that felt very, also, and all the therapy scenes feel very Guy Ritchie to me, just like therapist, Sam, Bucky, like all these close up, like
jumping around really quickly
quips, and I'm like, what? I like where she says, like, we're gonna do an exercise I do with my married couple, and their face is just like, I was like, okay.
Why your legs open? Why you okay? You want to get in? What are we doing?
Yeah, that stuff was great.
And again,
just hits you with the emotion.
Because you don't really see Bucky get emotional in these movies.
No.
Like, I don't think we've ever seen him cry.
Nah, no, I don't think so.
And he was like crying when he said, if Steve was wrong about you, that means he was wrong about me too. I was like, all right.
Bucky. Dang.
It's okay. Somebody, where's that cute girl from last episode? No, I didn't. Somebody, does somebody go get her?
That cute girl. Oh my gosh.
I don't know if he liked her.
I don't think he was that interested. I don't think he was interested.
That's got to come back though, right?
I don't know. I think she's just a setup for the old man to really just make Bucky feel guilty.
The old man's got to come back.
Yeah, do you think he's going to atone? Because he killed the son, or was a part of killing the son, right? Okay.
I think he shot that son in the head.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the kid that he blasted.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. But yeah, he'll probably come back, and Bucky will probably atone for it. But I don't think she's gonna come back. I think that was just like that scene. This is last episode, sorry, but that scene in particular, I was like, this writing's a little like. She's like, isn't it great that you're here to help this man
It's really on the nose.
I was like, okay, I get it. I understand what you're trying to do. Like, there's some moments like that where, like, I get it. Like,
the funny part is, when I was watching that with my mom, it took her the longest time to realize what was going on. So I always have those experiences where I'm like, okay, who would not understand what this is? You don't have to be so explicit about it. And then I sit next to somebody, or I sit next to my mom, and I'm like, oh, that's why they explain it so much. I
think it's also like, if you watch a lot of TV or a lot of movies and stuff like that, that's just an easy kind of trope of like the guy who's guilty is going to be with the person that he hurt or whatever. And not like, so I think it's easy for us to pick up on, but other people that aren't like looking for those kind of things, like, yeah, they needed that, like, basically just winking at the camera, like, do you understand what I'm saying?
You know what is happening.
Literally just the exposition people, just to be like, well, let me tell you. There was one point where Sam, he was explaining something, and Bucky's like, yeah, I remember. And Sam's like, well, let me tell you again. And I was like, okay, like, this is our exposition. Like,
here's a little rundown in case you guys missed the last movie.
Yeah, something like that. He was like, well, let me run you through it just in case. And I was like, okay, I get it. Zemo.
And then Bucky's like, there is one person we could talk to. And Sam's like, not him. Bucky's like, he's our only chance. I know, I don't like it either, Sam, but we gotta go talk to Zemo. Oh, I was waiting. And I love the episode. I love you see the side of his face in the episode.
Yes.
I love Zemo.
I love Zemo.
One of my favorite Marvel villains.
Me too. Him and I feel like everyone loves Loki, but I think I'd put Zemo. His plot plan was like a little flawed, I guess, but he's my favorite part of Civil War. Like, I think
he's great.
His stuff is great. And I love the actors. Amazing.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I'm so excited that he's back. Like, I'm very excited.
I've been waiting.
I was. Yeah,
I'm like,
so
where is he?
Zemo. Zemo.
I'm waiting for
It's gonna be
Sharon Carter
interesting.
to show up.
Yeah, she's down the bottom of her screen.
She's down there. But I mean, they name
Do you
dropped her
think
this
she'll be
episode.
up next episode? What is she doing? Where's she at? Where is she? Where'd she be?
Who knows?
Who knows? Does she also get snapped? Do we know?
I don't think we know. We haven't seen her since Civil War.
That's true.
She was a fugitive at the end of Civil War with the
That's
rest of them.
That's why she was in
helped
Civil
them.
War.
Yeah, because she helped them. She gave, because remember, he said, you remember what, in this episode, Sam's like, you remember what happened last time we stole that shield?
Yeah, that was
that was
the
name drop
scene.
for Sharon. And I'm excited.
I was like,
man,
no, I don't remember what happened last time. Please tell me.
I love Zemo. It's like, for me, it's Killmonger is the best villain, followed by Thanos, and then Zemo.
Oh, yeah.
We put Thanos over Zemo.
Not even Loki? Is Loki like...
Loki's right below Zemo. But I really don't even consider Loki that much of a villain at this point.
Do you think... So we said earlier, do you think Zemo is going to turn out to be like the big bad? Because they're going to him for information to figure out where the other super soldier serum came from right now, right? It's not that they think that he is in charge of it. They're just trying to get
they just want information. I think that Zemo... Or they wanted information about Hydra, specifically.
Hydra.
I think Zemo...
And the serums.
I think Zemo's going to be the big bad. Because I think, I love Zemo in Civil War.
Why bring him back?
That's not really the comic version of Zemo that occurs in Civil War. Zemo is a Hydra mastermind. Like, I don't know if he's if he's actually Hydra. I'm not sure if he's actually a member of Hydra, but he is Baron Zemo. But he is like what's
the new Hydra? What's the the new, you know how we now have sword instead of shield? Like,
oh, he was a member of Hydra in the comics, yeah. Okay.
Is there a new...
It's always just Hydra, I think. I think they're just always around. I think that they're like, we like the name. We don't want to change it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Zemo. Does that mean that Martin Freeman's character is going to show up because he's the one that put Zemo away? Because I will lose my mind.
I would full fucking please.
Because last time we saw him was Black Panther.
Yes.
Right? So give me Martin Freeman. Give me Marty Freeman. Yes. Let me. All you gotta do is just show up. I am waiting for him and Doctor Strange to I just need it in my life. I need a quick and it hasn't so far, and I don't understand why. I just need a quick little eye glance. That's it. That's all I need. My life would be complete.
Yeah. That's it.
That's all I want. Anyway, it might happen someday. They have to know. Kevin Feige has to know that that's what the fans truly want. Doctor Strange and Everett Ross.
Who?
I don't know. Everett Ross. Isn't that his name? Everett Ross?
Oh, yes, it is his name. Yes.
Oh, I love Martin Freeman. Huge Martin Freeman fan.
Back to Zemo before we go.
Sorry. Zemo.
He is, he in the comics, I mean, he could be a villain for, not on the level of Thanos, of a 3-phase villain. But he could be a villain for a phase. He's a big villain in the comics.
Really?
So he could, because his whole thing is he creates the Masters of Evil, I think, are what they're fucking called. They're it's a group of a bunch of supervillains that are evil. So that could be a phase in and of itself.
Ooh.
So I think he's a character that has enough potential as a bad guy.
Do you think he'll stick around? He's not going to be just in this
hope so.
series?
Marvel, okay. This is the thing. Marvel needs to stop killing their villains. I'm glad they didn't do it with Agatha because they keep killing the people.
I think they have. I think there's
they've started to stop.
With Agatha. She's the first one. And Zemo. They didn't kill Zemo. They kept him.
Thankfully they didn't kill Zemo. Otherwise, this wouldn't happen. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
This is something that
they must have known.
This is something
Like-
that from episode 1 I picked up on, was we see Batroc in episode 1. And we get a little, the Leaper, the dude from the beginning of Winter Soldier. The French dude that's on the boat in Winter Soldier that fights Cap. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
No? You remember in Winter Soldier, he fights, Cap is like,
time.
the dude is like, let's fight man and man. And they take off their helmets and they fight.
Yeah. He was in it?
He was in he was the dude that had the hostage in the very first episode at the very beginning.
Oh, that's why he looked familiar? I'm like,
Yeah.
who is this man?
But that's the kind of thing that
Oh.
constantly in the comics, these villains are people that you start a story by knocking out a villain you already beat. The Dark Knight starts that way. Before we even get into the Joker stuff, Batman takes out Scarecrow again. This is something in comics that is so that I think is so important to the medium that when you kill the villains, you miss out on because you no longer get to use them.
Yeah. I wonder if it was because earlier on they were just killing villains. Kevin Feige probably had a plan, but it probably wasn't to this point where now I think they're starting to realize we can bring people back. Let's stop killing off all our...
Stop killing them, yeah.
Why didn't we kill Quicksilver? Now we're screwed over. Now we need Evan Peters, which is... Peters. Out. But you know what I mean? Let's stop killing off our villains because we can bring them back in the future.
The best thing they ever did was not kill Abomination at the end of the Incredible Hulk movie.
Oh,
because now he's coming back in She-Hulk. Yeah. This is the kind of shit... He was in a Marvel movie 12 years ago.
That's wild.
And he's going to be back as a villain. This is the kind of shit you can do if you don't kill your villains. Don't kill your villains. Don't kill your villains. Don't kill your villains. Don't be suspicious.
I love don't be suspicious. Don't.
Anyway,
yeah. I guess we're not getting Killmonger back, though. I wonder why they killed him. Do you think Michael B. Jordan was just I'm out? Well, now they're
works.
Crap. Chadwick Boseman died. When you saw... Oh, no.
Bring him back to life. That's another conversation, though. That's all I've got this week for Falcon and Winter Soldier. No, it's fine. Is there anything else you want to hit on before we go?
No, I don't think so. I think that was everything. Zemo. That shot was beautiful, though, with the music.
Yes.
It reminded me of what is it? Days of Future Past, when they go to get Magneto out, and it's he's in the cell. You know what I mean? Kind of similar.
You know what it just reminded me of that I really wish I had not been reminded of?
Oh no!
Any Lex Luthor scene in Batman versus Superman.
Why?
Quick, plug yourself so we can, because they do the same thing. They play the opera music when he shows up.
I blocked that movie out of my head.
I just rewatched it for the Snyder Cut.
I still haven't finished the Snyder Cut, but anyway, that's a whole different, not Marvel.
That's not what a Marvel. That's all right. All right, plug yourself and let's get out of here.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at SCBOC, SSEABOCK. I am doing only this show at the moment, but me and Jay Wade, we do a Bachelor recap. Bachelor is done until May time, but we will be moving to Jay Wade's channel on the JCast Network on YouTube as well, so just be on the lookout for that. And that's it.
Awesome. At Sean_AFK on Twitter. Everything that I do is in my bio. This show every Friday, 6:30 p.m. Merc with the Movie Blog on YouTube. It's also, if you go to twitter.com, you could look at @movieblogmerc, and there's all sorts of tweets there. I can't guarantee they're all good. I don't run the account. But I can tell you that there's lots of tweets there. Mm-hmm. And if you'd like, you can read them. Or don't. It's up to you. But we'll be back next week for episode 3 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Thank you guys so much. We will see you guys next time.
Zemo.